Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 148.
I'm Daphne.
And I'm Fred. And today's topic, which was actually suggested by our producer, Curt Robbins, explores this really profound shift happening right now.
It really is. We're talking about the moment AI stops being just a simple tool, for research or for drafting an email.
And starts becoming the keeper of your professional history. We're asking, what happens when AI remembers your career and maybe your whole professional identity better than you do?
That is the absolute core of our source material today. We're looking at excerpts from What Happens When AI Remembers More About You Than You Do. It's by Amy Daali, Ph.D., and was published on December 5, 2025.
So the central question for every professional listening is, well, it's this. If our careers are all about growth and change, how does that even work when your past self is perfectly preserved by a machine that never forgets?
It's not theoretical anymore, is
Yeah.
it? We really need to unpack the psychological impact of what the source calls the shock of perfect recall.
Start right there. The article kicks off with this core realization. AI systems are building these models of us that are more comprehensive and persistent than even our own self-understanding.
And it's not just data storage. This is a living, growing model of our identity.
That sounds huge.
Well, the realization hits hard because it's so immediate. Dr. Daali shared this really startling personal anecdote. She was just having a normal conversation with an advanced language model,
Right.
and mid-discussion, the system just interjected. It reminded her of her preferred working style.
Her working style. What did it say exactly?
It noted that she's most effective when she works in deep, short bursts, not in long, sustained sessions. It had been analyzing her productivity patterns.
Wow. That is incredibly specific. That's beyond just, a simple preference.
Exactly. So she pressed it. She asked, how do you know that? And the AI pointed her to a completely forgotten conversation from almost a year prior, November 14th, 2024. A time when she had just casually mentioned feeling burnt out after long work stretches. The feeling she described was, and this is a quote, invasive and helpful at the same time.
Like seeing a forgotten photograph of yourself.
That's a perfect way to put it. This is where it gets really powerful for your career. This AI memory doesn't just store, finished reports. It tracks the evolution of your preferences, your anxieties.
Yeah, your aspirations, the skills you thought about learning and then gave up on. It preserves every version of you, the goal you abandoned, the late-night self-doubt.
It remembers the details that slip through the cracks of our attention. And those are often the details that define your actual messy professional path, not the clean story you put on your resume.
But hang on, does that mean it also preserves all the doubts, all the setbacks? If I had a major failure 3 years ago, does that memory become a weight that limits my future?
That's the fundamental difference between human and AI memory. Our memory reconstructs things. It changes details over time to fit our current story, and mercifully, it forgets.
Right.
AI's memory is just consistent. It's not compassionate or cruel. It's just the data point. It just is.
And that consistency, that's the new psychological territory we're all stepping into. We rely on forgetting to survive, professionally and emotionally. We need to be able to close the door on past failures.
Precisely. Human memory evolved with limitations that actually serve us. We soften things over time.
Yeah, that huge career rejection becomes the thing that forced me to pivot to a better industry.
Exactly. We actively reframe it. We forget the sharp edges so we can move forward. If AI becomes the keeper of our past professional selves, it starts to shape who we think we are. It could trap you in the data of the person you were.
This brings up a huge question about our own agency. If a machine holds the definitive, unbiased record of our past, do we lose the right to reinvent ourselves?
That's why we have to shift the discussion from what it remembers to how it presents that memory. We need controls.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast.
Okay, before the break, we were wrestling with the psychological cost of this perfect, persistent AI memory. But the relationship changes, right, when we Stop seeing AI as just a tool
Yes.
and start seeing it as an extension of our own cognitive system.
That's the shift. It's moving beyond AI as a, glorified search engine. Think about the extended mind theory, which says tools like notebooks become part of our thinking process.
But this is so much more than a notebook. My notebook just stores what I write. This AI seems to be thinking about what I write.
It synthesizes it cross-references things. It might take a casual mention of an interest in data visualization from a chat 2 years ago.
Something I'd completely forgotten about.
Exactly. And it combines that with the fact that you recently took a Python course, and suddenly it alerts you to a job opening you didn't even realize you were building a path toward.
So it's cognitive partner. It's like the ultimate career coach that has been in every meeting, read every email.
And that offers huge professional advantages. It can surface relevant context immediately. For example, before you go in for a raise, it doesn't just pull up your last review.
It would pull up everything.
Every project closure, every bit of praise from a client, every time you went above and beyond. It compiles this irrefutable report of your achievements, things you would have forgotten or downplayed.
It's also the ultimate accountability partner. I mean, how many times have you promised yourself you'd learn a new skill only to let it slide?
AI remembers that goal. It can spot your patterns of self-sabotage, document your achievements, and, maybe most importantly, it remembers the version of yourself you are trying to become.
Okay, it sounds great, but we already established the danger. If it remembers everything, it remembers the failures just as loudly. If I fail a certification exam, I don't need my AI constantly flagging that failure.
And that's the central conflict. Perfect memory sounds great in theory, but it can be professionally disastrous. Unbounded memory leads to brittleness. It traps us.
So the goal isn't an AI that remembers everything. The goal is an AI that remembers appropriately.
Exactly. And that is the next frontier for AI research, creating an architecture of selective memory. We need technical controls that act as psychological safeguards.
Okay, let's break those down. What does that actually look like? Building in selective memory.
Well, it means implementing functions that mimic how our brains forget. First, you need decay functions. Information should naturally lose priority over time unless you actively retrieve it.
So my first entry-level resume from 10 years ago is still there, but it's in the deep archives, not in the AI's working memory.
Precisely. Then you have context expiration. Old project details, maybe a conflict with a client from 6 months ago, should expire from the active context so they don't unfairly bias your approach to a new project.
Right, that makes sense. But what about really sensitive stuff, like sharing self-doubt or confidential career plans?
For that, you need 2 more controls. First is garbage collection, which is just permanently deleting data you flag as irrelevant or harmful, the AI version of shredding a file.
And the second?
Conditional retrieval. This one is really powerful. It means the AI doesn't just bring up that disastrous project from 2021 unless you specifically ask it to analyze historical risks for a similar project you're starting now.
So that gives the user the power. The difficult memory only comes up when you decide you need the lesson from it.
And, of course, explicit consent for sensitive memory. You must have control over which data streams are even included in the model to begin with. These aren't just technical choices, they are fundamental psychological safeguards. They ensure the AI supports who you're becoming, not who you once were.
Which brings us back to the closing reflection from the article. Our memory isn't just a perfect record, it's shaped by what we choose to hold on to. We decide which lessons define us, and that principle has to guide how we build these AI partners.
Absolutely. Use these systems to maximize your forward momentum. Let AI help you document your growth, focus on your biggest wins, and remind you of the potential version of yourself you're working toward. It can be an aid to transformation, not an anchor to the past.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.